Welcome back to MECFS, or myalgic encephalitis chronic fatigue syndrome on a daily. This is the third day I'm recording of it, and today I'm going to talk about an app called Visible. It's an app that helps with pacing for this disorder. Basically what it does is it tracks your heart rate variability, where the variation between the pace of your heart rates, and it uses this to calculate basically your readiness for the day, in the sense of whether your fatigue is more severe or less severe. So there's a scale from 1 to 5 for it. So 5 is you're fully ready, you can conquer your day. And 4 is you're pretty good for the day, but don't push too hard. 3 is you can do your day, but don't do too much. 2 is you need to be resting, which is what I got today, which I didn't expect that. I expected to be a 3 still, like yesterday, but I guess it just takes a little longer to recover from a crash than I expected. At least that crash. And then 1 is where you have pushed past crashing into a point where you are really, really fatigued and need to really, really rest with no stimulation whatsoever for the most part. But yeah, those are the levels. It is really interesting how it tracks. You put your finger over the camera with the flashlight shining into your finger so that it can grasp the heart rate in your finger. And there is a way to subscribe to Visible. I started using Visible back when they were still in their beta, and they were offering it for quite a bit cheaper than they do now. But that's because it was in the beta and they were gathering data. Because Visible is actually a research-based app. So they're doing this for research purposes, not necessarily to help people, even though as a side effect, it really helps people out a lot. But the main purpose is to gather research on chronic fatigue syndrome and figure out what is going on and how to treat it better. So there's also resources in the app on chronic fatigue syndrome and the related disorders. Like, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and one of the factors for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is you're more likely to develop chronic fatigue syndrome. It's really likely to develop chronic fatigue syndrome if you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, at least for certain types of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I have the type that's more likely to get it. And there's also orthostatic intolerance that's discussed in that same video, where it is orthostatic intolerance is where you change from laying to sitting or laying to standing or sitting to standing, and your heart rate and blood pressure change drastically. And that is called orthostatic intolerance because orthostatically, which is your position of your body, is not tolerating the change in position very well. And so it is kind of like fluctuating, trying to get a grasp of the change in position without being able to really moderate it very well. And yeah. So that's the type of things that they talk about on there. There's other things too. That's just the most recent one that I saw. It's a really cool app. I'm going to link it in the description for Google Play and for the App Store, the Apple App Store. But if you have a fatigue disorder, even if it isn't chronic fatigue syndrome, even if it's related to just migraines or stuff like that, generally the disorders that are related to this stuff end up being ones that are more systemic. So migraines, chronic fatigue syndrome, um, orthostatic intolerance, and fibromyalgia tend to be able to find this app useful because it's not just tracking your heart rate variability. In the evening each day, you answer a survey about different symptoms you've had during the day. So you can add certain symptoms that are specific to you as well. So I've got migraine as one of my symptoms because I also get migraines, but it'll be like fatigue, um, and migraines and um, hunger, like lack of appetite, and other stuff like that in a whole list. And then the next page is how much demands were on you today. So, like physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. It splits them up across those categories too. And the last one's just checking if you've been sick today, other than just being in a crash. So it's really useful. Um, and I'm going to include in this video a visual of the app itself because it's quite valuable to see what it's like. So I'll show that next. So this is the Visible app. So this is what it looks like with the main page. And so if you look, you'll see there's an evening check-in, there's the morning stability, and then there's sleep. And the morning stability and sleep are checked in at the same time. Now let's go to trends. So we can actually look at this and see. So I've been tracking for the last few days, and we'll see that there's not really any correlations yet, but over time you can see correlations happen. Oh, there's a trend line. Yep, there it is. There's also the community tab, and this podcast is the one I was talking about previously. But as you can see, there's a lot of different podcasts available that they started having. And then they also have these videos on different ways that these different things affect heart rate variability. And then there's the blog. The blog used to be the only thing on this page. It used to not be called the community tab. It used to be called something like about or resources. I think it was called resources. And then there's just this, which is your profile, which I think I have reminders, in the morning and at night, which are great to have. And then, my monthly check-in is this. So the monthly check-in is actually really useful. This is tracking your functional capacity. So for me, my most impacted area is activities in the home, but I probably am answering this wrong because I can't really do much outside the home either. It is very limited. I kind of limit the activities in the home so I can do more outside the home, which is not really a fair way of measuring this, but that's just how I answer it wrong. But if I had the monthly check-in to answer today, I could just go through it with you all and show you, hey, this is how it's done. But that is the Visible app. Quite a useful app.